to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
It's a Saturday, and we are back with the Changing Stage radio show powered by WS Radio Networks and brought to you by the folks at musicpower.com and Guitar Trader, where real musicians help you with real gear. And we are here today for, and I always say this is a great show. I always say it's an amazing show. But today is actually extra special because this is a celebration of life. This is a celebration of life in music, a celebration of a life that wanted something and went out and got it. And I've got a really good friend of mine. I've grown to know from the radio show, but amazing gentleman. He's a hometown hero for us here in San Diego. We have Bob Monroe. Bob, say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody. And
Bob's here. He's here for kind of a tough subject as well as an awesome subject because for you folks that weren't around in the 80s, the Monroes were just this amazing group that came out of San Diego, and they took the music charts by storm. They were one of the first group on a Japanese label that was breaking here. They've done TV shows, and it was they had an amazing time and they had an amazing career. And they had a number of different people. Our good friend Eric Denton. We had Eric Monroe, Tony Monroe, Rusty Monroe, and the drummer
Johnny Gilstrap.
Johnny Monroe. Yeah, exactly. But there was actually a member that people didn't get a chance to see on stage. But this member was really part of the family, right?
He sure was. Integral part.
Yeah, and it's just, and this member, and for all you bands out there that are getting started, this member is probably one of the most important members of the band, the sound engineer, right?
Yeah, he was. He started out, when we first recorded, Eric and I, Eric, of course, owned AccuSound Recording Studio, and much of the record What Do All the People Know was recorded at AccuSound.
Yes.
On off El Cajon Boulevard, which is no longer there. But Pat was an intern there at the studio.
Yeah. And I want to clarify. His name's Patrick McDonald, but, we want to call him Patrick Monroe because he was... it's like the fifth Beatle. He was like the sixth Monroe, right?
He sure was. We had a great time with him. It was Eric and me. We spent lots of hours and nights in that studio just locking ourselves in. And Pat was in there with us. And finally, after he helped us out enough, we finally just gave him the controls and said, "Here, there's the board. Let's record." Yeah,
Eric was telling me the story, and it's really kind of a testament to a life dedicated to doing the right thing, just being there to serve, and and I heard he had a very colorful personality.
Funniest man, one of the funniest people I ever met. He made the tour. Not that everybody else. Tony, as you know, Tony's very funny.
Yeah, well,
kept us laughing. Yeah. But Pat. Yeah, he was very, very hilarious. And so that helps with a bunch of young guys out stuck together.
Exactly. And for the people that are listening, I want them to realize the character of this man. I'm just starting to get to know him. And I think you can, because his spirit, the soul of him is carried on through the music, through you guys, through us that are being touched by you. So we all have that, that interconnectivity, if you will, and the circle of influence that we have. And Eric shared with me a story that to me was awesome, because sometimes young people forget that, don't try to prove anything. Don't try to show what you can do. Just be there and soak it all in and learn. And I guess Patrick came to the studio, mutual friends, right? came to the studio, from what I understand, and just, was interning. He wasn't really doing anything. In fact, I think Eric sent me a little something that kind of sums it up. This was from Eric Denton, the owner of MusicPower.com. But he said that I've always used Patrick's story as a source of inspiration for the young people, and those are the young people in his life who have a goal in what they want to accomplish. And it's a great example. He wanted to, Patrick wanted to be a sound engineer. So he came to your studio, like you mentioned, and that was every day. And he just wanted to help. He interned. He became so valuable that one day the engineer couldn't make it, and you guys needed someone. And you guys knew that Patrick can do it. And, that was kind of the rest is history. And, I'm going to kind of go through Patrick's kind of long list of accomplishments. But the important thing to me that I heard there was that he wasn't trying to say, listen to me, do this, do that.
No, Pat, even without being a sound engineer, he when we had our record hit and we were going out with Rick Springfield on the road, Pat said, well, I don't want to be part of the crew. I want to be a roadie. I just want to be involved. I mean, he was there. There was no question that Pat would be involved. Yeah. And he would have it no other way. Yeah. So we had 3 crew members at the time: Al Kaler, good friend of mine, and Joe, and Pat. Yep. And Al and Joe were in Colorado in the truck with the gear. Yeah. And they unfortunately had a serious accident in the rain and the storm. And
talking about the last show.
Broke their legs and other appendages. It was serious. So Pat was the only one left. And he did the job of all 3 crew members. The crew for Rick Springfield, Mylar and the guys, they could not believe that this guy could work so hard and get it done with one crew. They constantly made jokes, and they helped out as much as they could, but they said, this guy does the work of 4 people. And I can still picture him now with that flashlight in his mouth. So he'd have both hands free, lugging these things on stage and setting up and working with such an enthusiasm that,
on a major tour.
Major tour. And I'll never forget that. He did the work of 4 people. And like we said, in a pleasant way. Never a bad day with Pat. Always brought the room up. Bright and positive, and I'll never forget it. And that was where he made his bonds. And those people, in that crew, and they were the top-notch people at the time, saw how he worked. And that was the beginning of his long career with, of course, the bands that you're going to mention. Did. That was the beginning of it.
And so, again, it's a celebration that with a character of such, selflessness. It sounds like, he wasn't trying to get the fame. He wasn't about the fame. It wasn't about his own personal agenda. He just wanted to really help. Mm-hmm. And I guess that kind of leads to a few things that we're going to talk about with him. Basically from the Monroes, which to me was the pinnacle. He got a chance to work with some great people.
Oh, the best. The best.
He did. Well, let's kind of start off.
Yeah, go ahead. Just run through that. It's amazing to me when I hear it, every time I hear it.
Earth, Wind, and Fire, small group like that. Gladys Knight, he did stuff with TV networks like VH1. He worked with, the ACM Awards, Vivo Latino 2000, so these TV shows. You guys ever heard of Michael Jackson? Right? Michael Jackson, Marvin Hamlish from the more classical side, Madonna, another major star, the Eagles. My producer Paul here is a big Eagles fan. I'm a big Eagles fan too.
There's only a couple of them, so I'm glad you guys are the 2.
You've got Warner Brothers Records, NASCAR, Dick Clark Productions, the Grammys. He's worked on a number of Grammys, the Super Bowls. So obviously for the NFL, Barbra Streisand, for those folks that really love that traditional singing, Rod Stewart, Quincy Jones. Obviously, if you can work with Michael, you got to do it in the era that was great, which was Quincy. You've got the Olympics, presidents like Bill Clinton. I mean, this man has done...
Who had a great band, apparently.
Yeah. Saxophone player, right?
Yeah.
So, it goes on. Robert Zemeckis for movies. You guys... Kiss, Crocus, Oingo Boingo. Who knows? He probably worked with Danny Elfman.
Amazing list.
Yeah, I mean, I can keep going on. It's just, we can actually do a whole show on all the people he's worked with. I guess the point I'm trying to drive home is that humbleness of just wanting to serve is a key character for making it in this business. Wouldn't you say, Bob?
I know that they feel about him the way we did. It's just the way Pat was.
Yeah.
They just brightened up the room, and I'm sure they all have their stories.
Yeah.
I wish maybe I'll get a chance at some point to hear some of them, but he just, this is the way he was, his personality. There was never a dead moment with Pat.
And I think that's really what it is about this music business, is touching lives and really impacting lives in such a positive way, whether it's through the music, whether it's through helping the music come out.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
I think that's a big one. We've got about a minute left till our commercial break. I want you to read something that Rusty.
Yeah, Rusty, of course, couldn't be here today, but he wanted us to read this for him. He said, Pat was a bright and distinctive light and support at a very important time in my life. His passion, excitement, and sense of fun were contagious and beautiful. And as anyone will tell you, he was incredibly funny. Many, many years later, I had a chance to talk to him on the phone for a bit, not long after I lost a beloved to ovarian cancer. He was so warm, generous, and honest in sharing his own challenges and wanting to hear about my own. I'm grateful to have known Pat, and my heart is with all his friends and loved ones who will remember his life and beautiful presence with deep gratitude.
Wow, yeah. And, that's kind of just a simple summary, but, it goes deeper than that. And Rusty, so for you folks, Rusty Monroe was the
Rusty Jones.
Guitar
he was
player.
The guitarist.
Yes, guitar
Monroes.
player.
And songwriter. And other songwriter in the Monroe.
Yeah. Whew. Well, this is the Changing Stage. Powerful show today, with just amazing characters, talking about somebody that we all will remember, whether we've met them or not. We are powered by the WS Radio Network and brought to you by MusicPower.com and Guitar Trader. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Thank you for listening to WS Radio. Improve your business and your life with useful information from experts and thought leaders. WS Radio is radio with ROI.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goley, one thing that you have helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get to the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Are you ready to get real about your music? My name's Florentino, and I'm the host of The Changing Stage. On my show, we get the real stories of how great music and musicians are made. You know who else is real? The professionals at MusicPower.com. They help serious players make music happen with the right advice, direction, and cutting-edge gear. Isn't it time you leave amateur hour behind? Then go to MusicPower.com. Real musicians, real gear.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813. 6813.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
All right, we're back for the next segment of the Changing Stage radio show, powered by WS Radio Networks and brought to you by MusicPower.com. And we have the folks from the Monroes celebrating the life of Patrick McDonald, or Patrick Monroe, like we would like to refer to him. We have Mr. Tony Ortiz on the line with us now. Tony, you there?
Yeah, how you doing? How's it going?
Brother, I miss you here in the studio, man.
No, I've been listening, and I think, Bob, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Well, awesome.
We miss you. We miss you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss you guys too.
Got to come back out.
Yeah, I will in the future. I hope, So we'll see what happens. I just wanted to say just a couple of things. I always thought of Pat as being the shining star behind the scenes. That and what Bob said about lifting everybody up, I think that's so right on. That it happened every time. I remember there was one little story that I'll tell that keep it short. But we were in Wisconsin somewhere, and we were on the Rick Springfield tour, and Rick wanted to go out and play Tron or something. So we all went out, and we went to this bar. I think it was in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we got there, and of course, Rick is, he's a good-looking guy, so it didn't take very long for the women folk there to realize that Rick Springfield was actually in this club, in this place.
Right.
And they quickly surrounded him while he was trying to just play Tron.
Yeah, well, we were at the machine, and I couldn't. After a few seconds, all these girls started hedging themselves in around him, and pretty soon I was back about 50 feet behind the machine because I couldn't
exactly.
get close enough,
to play Tron.
To play, yeah.
And then the boyfriend started to not feel the love very much, and they started to they got a little angry, and this is my story is about Pat, how he dealt with he was there, he saw what was going on, and we all saw what was going on, so we all we were thinking, well, we got to get out of here, so we got to get Rick out of here, but my point is that Pat was so concerned about us as the Monroes that we're okay, that he helped us to get out of there also, even though the girls weren't after us at all.
Well, but boyfriends didn't care for us there,
Yeah, they didn't care about what was going on with us. But
there would be some cornfed big boys out there in Wisconsin, I imagine, too.
Yeah, big fellows, and they're they were ready to rumble, as it were, Midwestern style. So it was not good. But Pat has always been a wonderful, wonderful person that was in our team. He was a band member. He was part of the Monroes.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to say for him and a lot to say for what was going on at the time. And I think I miss him very much. And I was able to reconnect with him just many months ago, and just talk and just spend a whole afternoon with him at a Starbucks in Claremont.
Oh, wow.
As we just sat there and just talked and just kind of, shot the breeze, so to speak.
The one over there by the Verizon, I'm assuming?
Probably. Yeah, I think it was. Yep. So anyway, so that's all I had to say. I think that I heard the statement that Rusty gave. I think that was beautiful. I think we all feel that way, and it's definitely, it's such a great, this is a great thing to be able to honor Pat like that.
And I think you kind of touched on something that's really important, and I'd like to drive home the messages to especially to the young people listening. Tony, how important is a sound man, especially one of the character and quality of life that someone like Patrick has in a band?
Yeah.
How
I'm
important
telling you right now that he's worth his weight, absolutely his weight in gold. I think that a sound man, and I've seen it happen time and time again. I'm like Bob, I'm out there playing, and when you have the house guy who's doing the mix, and then you've got a guy that is dedicated to your sound, it's night and day. You can come off as being either a really mediocre sound or just a stellar sound, and I think that's the difference. Is when Pat was behind the desk and he was dialing in everything. He knew where the solos were. He knew where to turn up the solos. He knew where to do all that kind of stuff that needs to happen. And that's what you need a sound man to know, what you're doing and what you want to portray on stage. And he'll just really just back that up and just make you sound like $1 million. You know? Exactly.
And it kind of also one of the things that I learned from the show when I was that we did a little while back from Tony when he was sharing, it's important to surround yourself with people that care about you. And it sounds like Patrick really cared about you guys, right? You know.
Yes.
And,
he did. Yeah, he did.
And obviously, in memory of him, you're expressing that to the world that you truly cared about him. And I think it's important that bands recognize that it's not about you. It's about the people that are listening, that you're sharing with, the people that are supporting you, whether it be someone who is close like Patrick, or people that you may have not yet met, but are there out there clicking your likes now on Facebook. Or just listening to your radio show, whatever it is.
There's a lot of things that you rely on your crew for when you're on the road. Not just working sound, or not just getting your guitar tuned, or not just it's everything. There, you need to trust somebody when you're out there.
And has your back, especially when Rick Springwell has way too many girls coming at you, and the boyfriend's going to beat you up.
Right. But there's a lot of things that happen when you're traveling. I mean, just with anybody, even family when traveling, and you need to have somebody you can trust. And Pat was one of those people.
Absolutely.
Those people.
And it's nice to have someone who's got some humor. Patrick actually put some fun stories that he had from the road on your the Monroes website. And I think it's www.monroesband.com. I don't know. When we archive it, we'll put it out. I forgot to write that down, so we'll have to find out. Maybe
I think it's Monroes.com. I think it is.
Yeah. So on the site or our Facebook, he had a story about being on tour with Earth, Wind and Fire, and he's I guess this is kind of sums up his character. He just wanted to be entertained, so he decided to entertain himself a little bit. So he's sitting there on tour in dinner with Earth, Wind and Fire, and he had his napkin, and basically he started putting little balls of butter in the napkin. He started making it in a little sling. Started shooting butter at people. Now, would that be something that he would do?
Yeah, Pat would do that. He never did anything to really hurt anybody or never could cause them that much discomfort. But it's definitely something that Pat would bring some levity to the situation with. And sometimes in the you got a room full of stuffy people. Oh yeah, Pat would make everybody laugh. That's for sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
Sure.
Definitely. And
I think that story I told you about when we were in the backstage at, I can't remember where, when they had us in the bathrooms and we were turning on those hand blowers and blowing the luncheon meat to the mirror and realizing that you could put luncheon meat in the hand blower and hit the button and launch it. I believe that was instigated by Pat as well. So,
man after my own heart, entertaining you with food. That definitely
very, very creatively.
So yeah, he had some great stories. He actually had one where. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I don't want to get too surreal. But I guess he was on tour and one of the riggers actually ended up falling off the stage lighting or scaffolding and lost their life. And it was a Kiss tour, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But this is one of the stories he put here. But the show must go on, so they had everybody still work and continue on with the show. And I guess he kind of put things in perspective for him later on in life, that life is too short. We have to enjoy what we're doing. We have to do what we're passionate about. Don't take any second for granted. What would you guys say about that? Well,
yeah, absolutely. I think that you got to live every day as though that old country song, as though you're dying. I think that Patrick did that. I think he was an open heart and a very, very sweet person.
Was that a country song like that, Tony?
I think there is, yeah.
I think there is.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to write it. I'm not quite sure what it is. But anyway, that's my take on it, and I really, I think you guys are. This thing that we're doing here today is really just the best, wonderful thing that I can think of to honor him.
We really thank you for that, Florentino.
When Eric mentioned that you guys were having a memorial for him today, I was like, let's put all the other stuff on hold and let's kind of do something for this amazing man. Because every time I've talked to you guys, it's always been something that he's touched you with. So each different story.
And again, he's a local hero. He's a local hero.
So. A local hero. He's worked with so many people. Well, we only got about 30 seconds left, and I just want to thank you guys for coming on today. And
you're welcome.
And I want everybody out there to celebrate with us, because it's about having a life of impact. I'm a big believer in the Lord above, and I think that we're all here for a reason and purpose. I don't try to advertise too much about what I feel, but I think that Patrick was a testament to that.
Yes, he was.
And
yes, absolutely.
And I want to thank Eric and for connecting me with you guys, and obviously Rusty and I always forget Johnny Gilstrap. So I remember that now, or Johnny Monroe. Well, folks, it's too short, like always. This is the Changing Stage radio show. Gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are brought to you by WSRadio.com and obviously MusicPower.com, keeping us driving. We love you, folks. Stay tuned. We got another segment coming up after this. Till next weekend.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Love to read but just don't have the time? With Audible.com, you can catch up on reading simply by listening. Audible has the largest collection of digital audiobooks, over 85,000 titles in every genre. Listen to a bestseller on your iPhone, BlackBerry, Android smartphone, or one of 500 other compatible devices. Visit audible.com/WSRadio today and get a free audiobook when you try Audible free for 14 days. That's audible.com/WSRadio.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
Are you ready to get real about your music? My name's Florentino, and I'm the host of The Changing Stage. On my show, we get the real stories of how great music and musicians are made. You know who else is real? The professionals at musicpower.com. They help serious players make music happen with the right advice, direction, and cutting-edge gear. Isn't it time you leave amateur hour behind? Then go to musicpower.com. Real musicians, real gear.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
That's right, that's right, that's right. This is that channel, the WS Radio Networks, with the Changing Stage radio show. And we are brought to you by musicpower.com, our fun friends, where real musicians help you with real gear. And my name is Florentino. And like always, we have a phenomenal show today. And this gentleman is just amazing. Mr. Jason Sutter, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. How's it going, man? Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you great, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm great, dude. I'm great. Great to hear your voice, and let's talk about rock and roll.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So for you folks that may not know the name, I know you've heard him play. He's played with Marilyn Manson. He's on tour right now with Smash Mouth. He's played with Babyface. I mean, he's all over when it comes down to style and sound. And I got the blessing to see him at his clinic at Guitar Center here in San Diego, and I was just blown away. Jason, man, you know, where are you at right now? Are you home, or are you on tour, or what are you doing?
I'm home. Yeah, I'm home. I just got back from Chicago. I had a show in Chicago, the day off in Cincinnati. Basically college shows, like festivals outside of Chicago, like colleges.
Yeah.
And I'm home, and I'm doing a Super Bowl Sunday performance in Houston this coming Sunday.
Oh, wow. Amazing, amazing. Well, you are definitely one of the players of players right now. But every player has a beginning. And you were able to share that with us at the clinic. And I would like to share that with all of my listeners. We have a lot of listeners that are really just starting to get into the business, as well as seasoned professionals. But these guys that are just getting into the business, sometimes they're not aware of what it takes to make it in the business. And you shared a lot of that good stuff at your clinic. So let's kind of start there, where you got your start with, your passion for music, your passion for playing drums, and then kind of go through a little bit of your history.
Basically I started at a young age, and I was like, my dad's a sculptor and taught at a university in upstate New York, Potsdam College. And the drum teacher in that town at the university is Jim Peterzak, who's kind of a renowned, still in the game, educator from that university. And so I got to, at a young age, probably, be taught correctly. And in the town I was in was tons of bars and tons of bands, and I was usually probably a good 4 or 5 to 6 years younger than any of the band members in the college bands, and so I got to play at a lot of bars. I started around 13, and so I got a lot of professional experience touring, and then eventually graduated from high school and went to college at the University of North Texas, which is kind of a renowned music school, and tons of great alumni. From Jim Riley from the Rascal Flats, and Rich Redmond with bass and Alpine, and just it goes on and on. Greg Bissonette, so there's tons of great drummers that have come from there, and they're still kind of making their way out of there. So that was a big step. And then I went to University of Miami. I got an undergraduate degree in music education there, and then moved on to University of Miami and got my master's degree. And then from there, I ended up landing a job of a recommendation in Boston from a friend of mine from high school to audition for Juliana Hatfield, who at the time was signed to Atlantic Records, and she was kind of the next big thing in the early 90s. So that's kind of that's where I started my professional career. I flew up to Boston and started touring with Juliana.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, do you think it's like that nowadays? Because the dynamics change quite a bit. That's what the show is all about, is the changing stage. What do you think about, how would you recommend someone who's coming right out of school? First, would you recommend college, 100%, or do you think
No, I think I get your question, and, do you recommend college? And I think college is great, and I think there are a lot of drummers who go to music school because of drummers like myself and Jim Riley and guys like that and Keith Carlock, and guys like that who went to music school and kind of were able to kind of organize their thoughts and organize their sharpen their knives as far as their skill. And then they were able to move on from there and actually use that experience as well as the street and the road experience and kind of turn that into a career. So there are a lot of guys, I think, who do go to schools, and I had a great talk with Steve Houghton at the University of Indiana and Ed Soap at North Texas, and how these drummers, like myself, kind of went through academia and kind of, polished themselves even further, and then were better equipped for the real world. I don't know. I think there are a lot of just as many great drummers who forego the college or academia and are still able to maintain great careers. But for me, I think, I talk about my clinic, is I think that it really aids in my diversity and my ability to adapt and move, and I think it improves my ability to learn and to be a quick study when it came from switching gears from gig to gig. So I think from going to school like that, I was able to kind of, perfect the art of being able to move from gig to gig, and that's a big part of my upbringing, and I think a big part of something I would recommend to any musician who wanted to, elongate their career. The more diverse you are, the more you can switch gears, almost like an actor, and switch roles and be able to be, committed and convincing and ultimately get the job,
Yeah. I really learned a lot when I went to your clinic, and that's probably the biggest thing I picked up is that, don't pigeonhole yourself into one genre of music. I mean, you were talking about doing drum machine type of flavor on Chris Cornell's album project, where that wasn't something that you'd normally think of with Chris Cornell from Audio Slave and of course Soundgarden. So I think that was really key. Now, how did you diversify? What were the things that you did to learn more about the genres and to kind of internalize these things? Because the mechanics are there, but if you don't internalize it, you can't communicate it. From what I gathered from you.
Yeah, basically, I feel like you immerse yourself in all kinds of music, and you go. Not only do you listen, but you study it, you practice it, you play it. For me, it's from jazz to like the Manson metal stuff to Foreigner, which is just meat and potatoes, kind of 70s, almost dumbed down rock. Real simple, but then you also have Chris Cornell, and in that there's a million levels of Timberland Chris Cornell, or Soundgarden Chris Cornell, or solo albums Chris Cornell, or Audio Slave. There's a million ways to play that music, and then you go to Smash Mouth, which is like almost jazzy swung, pop.
Yeah. And you've got a chance to not just do all of this from a touring side, but you've also played on a lot of album projects. What do you find is the most rewarding for you? In studio?
Definitely touring for sure. I mean, I hung my hat on the touring, rack a long time ago. A lot of drummers were like, I want to do sessions, I want to do a little of both. For me, I long ago I knew that I was getting the feedback I needed from this. This art form was to be playing live, and it wasn't to be playing. And luckily, that choice was wise because when talking about the music, climate shifting, the recording industry has all but disappeared. And if you were planning on really hanging your hat on that as a career, you're probably out of luck, or you will be soon. Whereas that touring, I just got off a plane yesterday with Brian Hitt, the drummer from REO Speedwagon. They're getting off like 6 weeks Chicago, and it's just those guys are in their mid 50s, and Foreigner, the average age in Foreigner is probably like late 50s or mid 50s. So those guys, you can keep going and keep doing this, and what Smash Mouth right now is 20 years into it. It's their 20-year anniversary. There's a live record coming out in the fall, which is really exciting. I actually got to produce the single, which is so I'm really excited about that, awesome, and that's going to be on the live record. So the bottom line is these bands that had a career maybe 20 years ago when they hit are still able to just now starting to become in vogue. And you look at bands like Motley Crue, who are winding down, who are good, almost 20 years older than Smash Mouth, and bands like Poison, they're starting to do their last tours. And that shows that there's a large, long, a whole other 10, 15, maybe 20 years for a band like Smash Mouth, or bands like that from the 90s to, that people want to hear that. And we're playing colleges, sold out, 10,000 theater college shows for kids who were babies when Shrek came out or when Smash Mouth was relevant. And I think that still holds true. And Desmond Soundgarden, who were mid-'90s bands, they're just getting their second win, and I just saw them at the Hollywood Bowl, and they're better than ever. And so I think that there is, touring is where it's at. If you're going to be a session guy, unless you've been in the business or you're entrenched, and you've been lucky enough to plan tons of records, and even those guys complain that there's so much less work, but still, they could probably keep it going because they're entrenched in that scene. If you're a new musician, you really have to change how you think about music. And I always say with young kids, when I was young, I had record deals. I signed 3 major label record deals in my life when I was coming up in the 90s and early 2000s. And with that came advance, and it basically bought your freedom to practice and tour and do things that nowadays you don't have that luxury to do because those advances and those record deals don't really exist. So you have to kind of, for younger players, you have to figure out other ways to stay in the game. And as I would also recommend, staying in the game is half the battle. And it's the guys who are able to survive and save half of their earnings and be able to float and not have to get some job at Fridays if they don't have a gig for 5 months or something. You save your money so you can stay in the game and go out and hopefully, get that next gig or get you a step closer than taking you out of the game, which so often happens, and then you're dead in this business,
Yeah.
So it's tricky.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of different players, and that's kind of the general consensus is that what the business was like is definitely a different dynamic now. And with the proliferation of personal studios, it's just changed the dynamic for session players. You even had Nathan East on, and he's for him to do the session, he's making his own album, and that's a guy who's played with everybody. We got about 30 seconds left till the commercial break. If you want to share one thought to the musicians, what would you tell them? What would you leave them with right now?
Well, I would say whatever you do, have a goal, have a plan, every day you should get one step closer, and you should, itemize it and go, what am I doing today? What am I doing this week? What am I doing this month? Where do I want to be that's that many steps closer to my gig and my job? A lot of younger guys are starting to think like that, and I think that's really helped me with my career. So that's a word of wisdom.
Well, that's awesome. We're going to go to commercial break. We'll be talking about Jason's gear after this. This is the Changing Stage on the WS Radio Network, powered by Music Power. Be right back.
Thank you for listening to WS Radio. Improve your business and your life with useful information from experts and thought leaders. WS Radio is radio with ROI.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goli, one thing that you have helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get to the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Are you ready to get real about your music? My name's Florentino, and I'm the host of The Changing Stage. On my show, we get the real stories of how great music and musicians are made. You know who else is real? The professionals at musicpower.com. They help serious players make music happen with the right advice, direction, and cutting-edge gear. Isn't it time you leave amateur hour behind? Then go to musicpower.com. Real musicians, real gear.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
It is that second segment of the Changing Stage radio show, powered by WS Radio Networks and brought to you by MusicPower.com, where real musicians help you with real gear. And we have Jason Sutter back online with us. Jason, you there?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Awesome. So we were talking about a lot of good, fun things about the business, and you definitely are a wealth of information. One thing I always like to get is that story from the road, that one thing that kind of sticks in your mind, that favorite thought, or maybe a funny or crazy moment. Share one of those.
I got to do one really quick. I mean, this is just ridiculous. But I was playing with Foreigner in upstate in Michigan at Interlochen. I believe it's Interlochen. Beautiful venue, outdoor shed on the water. And I had really bad heartburn. And Mike Bluestein, the keyboard player, still in Foreigner, was like, dude, I have some prescription Prilosec, higher end stuff. It'll just knock it right out. And I'm like, I don't take pills that much. He's like, come on, dude, just take the whole thing. You'll be fine. I said, okay. Took it. About 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, went, ate some food, did a meet and greet, and I'm in the dressing room getting ready to go on stage. Sold out show, middle of the summer with Foreigner. We're on tour with Styx in Kansas, I think.
Oh, wow.
And this is maybe 2010. And so I'm reading a magazine, warming up kind of, and all of a sudden the words all go sideways, and I get up to go to the bathroom. I can barely stand up. Anyway, I proceed to play the show, and on my way out, I'm just telling the I can barely make it to the stage. And I tell the guys, I must be having a nervous a reaction, to this heartburn medicine or whatever. And I call a doctor really quick because it's really bad. And she says, there's no way that can be happening. But anyway, I proceed to play the show, and I can barely count the songs off, but we make it through, and, it's like the band just kind of laughed it off. But it was the weirdest thing I've ever had. Next day, the keyboard player and I meet for lunch in the lobby, and he comes up to me and he's like, dude, we got in late at night in the hotel. I went to go grab my Ambien, and that's what I gave you. So basically I was drugged by my buddy Mike Bluestein. So I basically, it was I don't drink or anything. I never take anything ever. I've never done that before a show ever, never would. And so, it was just funny. I experienced what it might have been like to be Bonham or Keith Moon and just be completely drugged out of my mind. Only with Moon, it would have been like horse tranquilizers. But yeah, it was a pretty incredible, surreal experience. And,
wow.
And, that happened.
So, what was the audience response? Were you playing really good based on it?
They had no idea. For me, it was just slow motion. The singer would look back at me like, "Are you going to start the tune?" And it's that delayed reaction as a drummer, and me especially. I'm very high strung, and you always have to be about 4 steps ahead of the band, and you kind of lead the show. You're like the traffic cop. So, it was surreal. But we made it through. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it was just Foreigners like a fine-oiled machine. So, that stuff for the inner band, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. That is pretty classic in front of all those people. But you pulled it off. That's a sign of a professional, definitely. So
exactly.
One of the things that we like to also talk about on the show, we are Gear and Gab, and you have some really key relationships with Gear Company. Let's start off with what kind of set did you start off with, and where is that now? Did you sell it? Did you keep it?
It's a great question. And if anybody's out there listening, my dad wanted to be a drummer. His dad was a chief of police in Milwaukee, and my dad is a sculptor. But my grandfather said, "No way, you're not playing music." So when I expressed interest in my dad, he went off and bought me all the sticks and mallets and got me the best lessons. And I have to thank my dad so much, and my mother, for being supportive of me. But my dad, my first year, I showed a lot of promise, and I was already playing in like a band. On like a set that they had. So my first Christmas, starting to play drums, probably around 8, my dad bought me a beautiful Ludwig 2012-14 Blue Sparkle Keystone 65 Ludwig. Yeah, it was mint condition. Basically, the guy went off to Vietnam and never came back. It's pretty sad. Oh, wow. And so I got the set, and my dad gave it to me for Christmas, and I'll never forget that. And when I was going off to college, of course, I had a bunch of other drum sets, and I sold that set to get money to, for books, when I went to North Texas. And I kind of kept track of where it went. Like a kid bought it for his dad, or a family bought it for his dad for his birthday, which is really cool. And then I still know that family, but for some reason I've never been able to find that drum set or where it is. So I would do anything now because, it's full circle. I'm a Ludwig endorser, and I help create products, and I'm very, very much involved at Ludwig, and I'm very proud to be. And so it's kind of one of those funny things. I went full circle, and of course I would do anything to get that drum set back. So if anybody has a lead on that in upstate New York, call me up,
All the listeners put out an APB on
JasonSutter.com. You can reach me there. Just hit me up. I have a website. You can contact me through that. So
that's
awesome. And so that's really my first set, and then I had to sell it, and so I don't regret it, But and now I play Ludwig drums. I mostly played like the legacy drums. I was kind of part of helping develop that set, trying to get a vintage vibe. And I was the guy who's in the 2011 catalog. I was instrumental in getting the mock lugs put on, which were the long stretch lugs from the early 70s that like Bonham and Simon Kirke and Cozy Powell used, and those are still kind of my trademark look. And I think they actually improved the sound of the drum, and I'm so proud that I see drummers who are playing those now that they can order them and get them through drum shops at their stock order, and that means a lot to me because I was a big 70s. I grew up as a baby in the 70s, and so that era is such a special era, and I think the drums from that era are special too. So, but personally, I think the new drums are better than any old drums, and that's something I stand by. And so I feel that way. And of course, Paiste cymbals, and I use Regal tip drumsticks. Basically, everything else Van Halen used, I use.
You got your own signature set of sticks, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. I'm really, really excited. And I just did a clinic, a 14-tour clinic of Guitar Centers, where I met you at the one in San Diego towards the end. And that was great. And that was in conjunction with Ludwig and Paiste and Remo and Regal Tip. And it was great to kind of see in Guitar Centers, which is a very hard chain store to get your gear into. And they're carrying, it's called a chopstick. It's kind of a rock version of like a studio stick. The tip is really a special kind of tip. And it's a rock version, and I'm really proud of it. And the reaction has been great from rock drummers and drummers just across the board. And what's most sexy to me is I actually have a brush. Yeah. And I spent a lot of time studying brushes with Jeff Hamilton and Ed Soap and some of the best brush players in the world, Ed Pigpen. And it's something that's very passionate. I'm very passionate about, and it's very almost meditative, like a different art form. And so I was able to, when I got with Regal Tip, we developed a brush that's called the Sutter, that Carol Collado name. So don't blame me. Yeah. But and it's a blue brush, and it's a slightly heavier gauge than the classic 583R or between the Jeff Hamilton, which is a thick gauge metal. So it's really cool. I urge rock drummers and jazz drummers alike the blue brush, and those are both available at Guitar Centers and pretty much any drum shop anywhere. And it's just a lot of fun to be able to grab a stick that feels so right, and a set of brushes, and to be involved in that process. So I'm pretty proud of that. Pretty excited.
Yeah, you know what? That was probably one of the at your clinic, the brush and also the drum line bits that you did. I was like really impressed.
Yeah, like the rudimental thing. Yeah, cool.
Because those to me, that shows me a core foundation, which I think sometimes musicians today lack. They don't go back to where everything originated from. They start from maybe an artist that they like right now that got something from the original. So I mean, think you have to spend again.
With all due respect to young drummers, I think a lot of young drummers, it's a YouTube generation. They get really good, really fast technically, but they forget about the time that you have to spend soaking it in and sitting in a garage with a bunch of kids and playing blues songs and playing to, Zeppelin or Skinner or actual real blues, like Muddy Waters and like John Lee Hooker and like real bluesy shit where there's grease and there's a certain slime, and a lot of drummers, that's how I grew up, playing a sweaty garage with a bunch of kids and playing rock and roll. And I feel like a lot of times now kids want instant gratification, and they can get a lot of very quick technical information off eBay, but they lose that sauce and that grease. And that grease is really why I work. It's my feel, and the feel is really what I get hired for. It's not technical, and it's not my shoes, or it's how you feel, how you make someone else feel when you play, and that can only come from playing a lot of music and playing, really honing in on what all the instrumentalists are doing and listening. And I think a lot of guys, they skip that part because it's such a solo pursuit of music, because it's all YouTube and it's all them in the practice room, and very little playing, very little like growth that, just quick, suddenly they're like, I want to be on tour and I want to be famous, and I passed out a Rock Band video game and now I'm ready. It's like, whoa, so to me, that's the sign of the times, and not to be like looking down my nose, but I think a lot of pros will come to me and say, I never really got my foundation down with the rudiments, and to me, that's something that I try to convey in clinics. I spent a lot of time, and I love that. And when I got into college, I got exposed to drumline and drum corps and got heavily involved in that. And again, that's the process of learning how to learn, getting out of your comfort zone and taking other avenues of music or percussion and getting good at it, which I think in turn helps you get good at things quickly. You become a quick study, and so if you have to switch gears, say from Marilyn Manson to Smash Mouth, you can switch those gears mentally as well, just like you would going from drum line to drum set to, hand drumming to brushes to jazz to, I think there's a process, and I think there's a connection.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, and I work a lot with younger players, and that's what I try to tell them. Just get back to the foundation, get back to the rudiments, get back to the beginning. We've got about 25 seconds left, Jason. Man, it always goes too short, brother. I love having you on. One last message to the people out there. What would you like to say?
I'd like to say, go out, see live music, buy some tickets, go support music, it's one of the best things we got going, and if you're a musician, go support music, go out and, don't be afraid to buy a ticket or go to a show, because that's going to keep all of us working, so don't forget that's our job.
It's the Changing Stage, and we are here with you folks. We'll be back next week. This is Florentino, brought to you by MusicPower.com. Thanks, Jason. We'll be talking to you soon.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Love to read but just don't have the time? With Audible.com, you can catch up on reading simply by listening. Audible has the largest collection of digital audiobooks, over 85,000 titles in every genre. Listen to a bestseller on your iPhone, BlackBerry, Android smartphone, or one of 500 other compatible devices. Visit audible.com/WS Radio today and get a free audiobook when you try Audible free for 14 days. That's audible.com/WS Radio.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's pain management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get to the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
Are you ready to get real about your music? My name's Florentino, and I'm the host of The Changing Stage. On my show, we get the real stories of how great music and musicians are made. You know who else is real? The professionals at musicpower.com. They help serious players make music happen with the right advice, direction, and cutting-edge gear. Isn't it time you leave amateur hour behind? Then go to musicpower.com. Real musicians, real gear.